Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fioros of Tri-City Equity Group. Today, excited, we've got Curtis May on the show. So Curtis is the host of the Practical Wealth Show podcast and the creator and owner of Practical Wealth Advisors. He's been planning for individuals for more than 35 years, and he's passionate about helping his clients both save money and live the very best life they can right now. The primary focus of his financial planning firm is to help businesses and families become financially free by following the principles of wealth creation that have endured for centuries around the world. Curtis, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Glad to have you on the show. Like I said, we were kind of chatting a little bit off air. I think anything personal finance, anything personal responsibility, and how people can set themselves up best for the future, especially where we are kind of in the current market environment, I think is absolutely key. And it's always vital, but I'm excited to get your take on what you're seeing through your clients, through your business, and what kind of tips and tricks that you can give to our listener base. So definitely excited to have you on. But for those of our listeners that may not be familiar with you, give us a little bit of your backstory. How did you get involved with personal finance and anything to do with the financial sector?
Yeah, it's weird because I've been doing it since 1985. I realized the NBA. I always tell this story. I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards, so I got my person showed me a check for like $400 and said, "This is what I made for hours worth of work." I said, "Doing what?" And he kind of showed me his little presentation that he gave, and I said, I can do that. And with my basketball ego, I said, if this knucklehead can do it, I can do it. And so take me to your leader, basically. And then I ended up becoming a regional vice president of that company. It was there for 13 years. And where the mantra was buy term investor difference. I don't want to call him out. But I was a typical max out your 401k, buy term investor difference, 663. And then I read a little purple book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, you know, what he's talking about and what I'm doing are different. And I didn't unpack it all together, but it created questions in my mind. And I'm a researcher. If any of y'all do a Colby, I'm a 7 out of a 10 fact find. So I'm a nerd. I'm not going to just read the book. I'm going to read the bibliography of the book you gave me to read because I want to see what they're reading. So, and then that just kind of led me to a book called Become Your Own Banker, The Creature from Jekyll Island, Economics in One Lesson. I just got into money and economics and why things happened. Because I was tired of people telling me what happened or don't worry, the market's going to come back. And I was like, that's BS. I don't want to hear that. I need to know things cause market disruptions. And I kind of wanted to know that. And because once you understand it, and we say in Philly, you won't fall for the okie doke. Or if y'all watch the Beverly Hills Cop, we're not going to fall for the banana and tailpipe. Right? I'm the guy to make sure you don't fall for the banana and tailpipe. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So I kind of progressed through that to what I do now is kind of principles-based planning, which is less about products and equities and mutual funds and more so about what are the principles that if you study successful people that help them become and remain financially free. Because our goal is financial freedom. It's not a number, right? Financial freedom is a capability, which is Jim Rohn says you want to be able to live like you want to live from the income from your personally invested resources, right? And so there's specific things that you have to do. And if I tell people, when I look at I just got phone with clients, listen, this is what I met at a real estate thing I was speaking at last weekend. And I said, well, if I were to, I said the definition of financial freedom, passive income greater than expenses. Yes. I said, well, if I looked at your financials, would I see any evidence that that's what you're trying to do? No, because if you're getting all your money from typical advice, they're not steering you that way, right? And so it's kind of like tic-tac-toe. When you first played, who won? The person that taught you the game, right? And so you playing the money game is enough for you to lose. Like that makes them money, just you playing the game, because they create the situations, control the outcomes so that they profit off of you playing. So when you read Rich Dad, I told her, I said, listen, now you're getting a glimpse into, okay, here's the other side of the game that you've got to learn. See, the problem that frustrates people with the book is that it's not tactical. Like they don't tell
Right.
you what to do, right?
Yeah.
Because it's about who to be, right? It's be, then do, then have. And being or transformation is hard. And we have a microwave mentality and we don't want to learn to be. So, okay, well, I can't help you because I don't know no shortcuts. So,
That's true. Yeah, it's an awesome mindset book. But then, yeah, it could easily be frustrating because everybody's situation is different, right? Where that's where they
yeah.
need to plug into somebody who, like, okay, somebody like you, right? Like, hey, I'm going to sit down with you. I'm going to look at all your investment accounts. Where do you have money parked? What capital do you have available? Like, what's your income? All that kind of stuff. Because you're first starting out, and even people that are advanced kind of need some hand holding, need some guidance. It's
Yeah.
not even necessarily hand holding, but
I
hey,
work with a lot of advanced people because the skills of money are make it, keep it, grow it. So let's say you're already a good investor, they make money, but their cash flow management is not the best. They could use the introduction to a good tax person.
yeah,
Their companies they don't have good bookkeeping. So it's like little stuff, but it's big little stuff.
yeah, right.
And that's where I find that the game is won and lost at cash flow control. I don't care if it's from your business or getting money out of your business to your personal. That's actually one of the biggest trends as we talked about. What do you see? That's a
Mhm.
big one.
Yeah, I was gonna, that was going to be a question of mine. Where do you see kind of the biggest pain points or the biggest thing that people kind of get sidetracked or they don't even, it keeps them basically from leveling up, right? Like in the current kind of state of things. And I think, yeah, I think you're right. That's a big one, right? Like, this is always going to be some
Are
new level
stuck
to attack.
so because they don't really have a system of cash flow control. Like, and
Mhm.
so the system, the way it's set up, we call it the financial treadmill, right? So money starts, you get paid, and then it has to go through the tax filter. We call it
Mhm.
financial gravity, right? Then it's got to go through your voluntary benefits. Let's say your W-2, right?
Mhm.
And then it ends up in your checking account where you have your fixed, variable, and discretionary money. But that's a spending account, right? So according to Fred, the Federal Reserve, the Americans are saving less than 5% of their income. So because savings is not default position, the default position is
Right.
spending. So if you let it run down to your account, you're going to spend it, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things, the first thing that we do is we try to flip the switch. So we teach our clients to create a reservoir so that we separate savings from spending. So what happens is all your money goes into this reservoir account we set up for people. And then now savings is unconscious, whereas right now it's conscious. We want to make spending conscious, right? So, all right. So we'll figure out with people, okay, what needs to show up in your account? What are your fixed bills? What are your variable bills? What discretionary money? And then all we do for the reservoir. So if you say, well, I need $7,000 a month, then we make sure that's what shows up in that account. But what happens is your reservoir fills up and then we move that. So we call it there's inflows, there's outflows, money that's gone forever, and there are capital flows. So we try to have capital flows, move that into some type of savings or asset bearing account. And the purpose of that capital is for them to call somebody like you, right? It's to buy assets, or we call cash flow engines, to make more money. But the challenge is people don't have a system that what they're taught about cash flow management is designed for them to give their money away. And it's a heavy lift. We save it up, we spend it. We save it up, we spend it. So what we have to do is we have to break that pattern. Like, I don't care if you can do that, you're halfway to the winner circle, because if you can't, it's rather the rich dad poor dad, right? So the income statement or the budget, if you
Mhm.
can't control it, somebody will always control you.
Mhm.
You see what I
That's
mean?
good.
And so you have to focus on, even on the business. I saw an article, somebody sent to my inbox, your profit and loss statement is lying to you. And which I'm gonna make a show out of that. I was like, oh, that's a good headline. Let me break that down. And so most people are, and I'm a big fan of, I've kind of adjusted a little bit to work with what I do, but the book that really started me to understand it on the business side of our
Mhm.
business was Profit First, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So most people don't, they pay themselves last when it comes to their business, right? And you got to pay yourself first, and you've got to take profit and you got to pay yourself. And so those two things, whether if you're like have
Mhm.
W-2 and you just get it and you are earning money, your number one expense is taxes, right? And so you kind of have to learn how to eliminate what we call transfers of your wealth. So as one is cash flow control, And then the other thing is we call it, well, transfer is money you're losing unnecessarily. So when we analyze people's situation, let's say there's 15 of them, but the top 5 are how you pay your mortgage, right? So paying extra payments, 15-year mortgages. That's not the first best thing to do with your capital. You're just making the bank rich faster, right? Creating velocity for them. The second one is taxes. One expense is taxes. So what are you doing to mitigate current and future taxation? Most people with W-2 are overpaying their taxes. They're living, you're supposed to run on the Caesar with his Caesars, I say, but you ain't got to leave them a tip, right? And so you got to get a good tax strategist. And 3 is how they fund qualified plans. So you have to analyze your situation. What are you're putting in 12, 15, 20%, but your money's in jail, right? So now you want to invest with Steve, but all your capital's tied up in your job's 401k. You don't have any money. So a lot of our clients, I won't tell them what to do, but once they understand how it works, it might be prudent to drop it to the match so you can create more access to capital so that you have other money to do something with. College funding. A lot of people are putting too much money in 529 plans, things like that, right? And then the sixth one actually is how you finance things, how you pay for major capital purchases, not understand the difference between amortizing interest and compounding interest, financing cars, how do you pay off credit cards? So like there's more money in those 6 things than you'll ever make trying to pick winning investments. And so if you want to create maximum wealth, you have to create maximum efficiency first, right? Most people are so inefficient. They're giving. So we're always chasing money, but you got like a bucket, you got a hole in the bucket and you need to plug the holes first. So that's a long answer, Steve, but that's how I feel about it.
No, that's perfect because there's so many different things in there. You're right. Like I can't tell you, I do a lot of networking, I do a lot of conferences, and you talk to just like you, right? You okay, well, man, yeah, I have this high paying W-2, but I want to get started in real estate. What you guys do sounds amazing, and yada yada yada. But it's like, well, I just don't have any cash, and I'm like, well, I know your job pays pretty well. Like I know where you live, about roughly what your expenses might be, let's say for a mortgage or something. And it's like, you can't tell me you don't have any capital. Like there's nothing left. And what you're telling me, all of that fits the bill because it's like, well, it's there. It is there, or it could be there. But the way that people are managing it, the way that they're allocating it is incredibly inefficient. Right. And at a certain point, they'll just be like, okay, well, again, because they've never been taught like anything practical. Just like you said, there's no steps for them. And this is not something we used to do home economics, right? Like, but this is not something that you're going to get taught going to your public school or even higher education. They're just
not at all.
They're just not going to teach you that. They just
You're
really
not
aren't.
going to learn it from a lot of people at HR at their job. Oh, you need to fund your young people. I only let my daughter, I said, look, you don't need to fund your 401k. I need you to save money, right? Because first of all, you're not going to be here 3 years from now. So all you're going to do is roll it over into something else that you can't touch, right? And so I need you saving and thinking about what side hustles you can create so you can make real money, so you can earn cash flow, so that you can income shift because you got a home-based business. Like you got to rethink all the stuff I won't say you've been taught because only reason I'm in business because my parents were in business. My dad told me you never making money, you work for somebody else. So I never got that go get a good job talk, right? I thought you majored in business to go into business. It didn't even occur to me to get a job. And which is I was telling somebody I was at his network event earlier, and he's like, yeah, we were taught to go to school, get our education because it was like a business Black Chamber of Commerce thing. I was like, well, I really actually wasn't taught that. And so I've been I've had jobs, but I always viewed a job as a temporary inconvenience till I got my thing going. Financing my apprenticeship because I wasn't any good. I was introverted. I wasn't no good at sales. I didn't know how to market or attract my ideal client to me. So it took me a minute to get good at that. But people think, well, I need security. I was talking to who was I talking to? I think client, it was my sister. It was like yesterday. I was like, I need, I can't just jump out there. I didn't say just jump out there, but if there's who said this? It was like Robert Allen. If there's a door marked security and a door marked freedom, if you pick security, you give up both, right? Because there's no only security, there's only opportunity. But we've been, I need a good job. I just use the Jim Rohn definition. Wages make you a living, profits make you a fortune. And so, and the author of the book I have people read before they can work with me, R. Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. Nelson would say, if you have capital, available capital, opportunities will find you.
Right.
So they need to reposition so they have access to capital. That's the number one problem I see, lack of access to capital. So if you don't have any liquid capital, the first time you have an emergency, you got to go into debt because you don't have any money you can touch, right? So like bad credit, debt, low savings, those are symptoms, right? And the disease is cash flow control. So
Mm.
everything starts right there with cash flow management. And so we kind of are reworking our practice. You won't get past that with me until we fix that. Give you a system that's designed for you to win and not enrich everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I actually love that you said that about like the W-2 and kind of it's a false security, right? Because people will say that. Well, and again, I think what a lot of people fail to realize, for one, we're in a totally different economy, right? Well, worked for your parents, for my parents years back with a job that had pension, and that's fewer and fewer and fewer today. And with the amount of inflation that's happened, the amount of debasement that's happened with the currency, the amount of money that they've printed, guys, we are in a totally different economic environment. So the advice that you would have gotten yesterday just it doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't
Um,
work. And see, we are still, and you still, even in college, we don't get any financial education in college, first of all. I mean, I taught classes and they're like, well, did y'all get any of this stuff in school? Nothing. Like at Penn, I did a financial literacy class at Penn. Ain't no financial classes. And they expect to come out making 80, 100 grand a year. But okay, well, a fool and their money is soon part. Not saying they're fools, but you it's buy all the stuff you felt you were deprived. It's max out your 401k, then it's going out of debt because you're an indentured servant to your student loan. And it's all that stuff. And then they feel like they got to accelerate their student loan and they're trying to get out of debt too fast. So like there's an order of this
mm,
stuff. I just lead people to look to read The Richest Man in Babylon. All I do is teach chapter
yep.
2 of The Richest Man in Babylon, right? Part of all your earnings yours to keep. Budget thy expenses, make thy gold multiply, right? Just stay right there, right? Make your whole proper investment. Guard your treasure from loss. Don't give it to people that don't know any more than you do, right?
Hmm.
Ensure future income, increase thy ability to earn. So always work on sharpening the saw, learn, because income follows skills, right? So if you don't make enough money, I tell my daughter this all the time. I say, listen, you have to, income is a result of creating value in the marketplace. So
100%.
you can't go to, I need more money. Well, I think you need to figure out what you've done with the company and be able to go with him. Let's not do this, and this. I think this brings to the bottom. You need to have an art. If I'm a business owner, you come to me like I'm a business owner, but if you come to me like that,
Right.
okay, let's talk about that because there's no reason for me to hire you if you can't make me money or save me time and money. I don't really think we have anything to talk about. I
Mhm.
know it's harsh because I was teaching these eighth graders one time. I was doing this career day. It's like, oh man, you harsh. I said, it is harsh. Okay. Nobody cares about y'all little dumb behinds. You better learn how to oh, because they were like popping gum, half paying attention. So I went off. I said, I had to I had a
You need
bar.
that.
We're in retail and they were like, this is the whole story, right? So I said, hey, when I get 18, will you hire me? I said, oh, there's a good teaching moment. I said, why should I hire you? Because I need a job. So hey, what do I care that you need a job? I said, the only thing I care about is can you make me money or save me money? If you can't do one of those things, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Oh, Mr. May, you harsh. Yes, I'm harsh because it's harsh out there. Somebody needs to break it to you now here in eighth grade. Oh,
We need so much more of that though. Like we need that smack in the face because oh my goodness, it's like talk about like an entitled kind of generation. And I don't want to do that. It's just again, it's not something that's taught. And the expectation is, hey, you're gonna walk into the real world and they're just gonna hand it to you and life's gonna be easy and you're gonna
you work
work
from
your
home
little
and make 100 grand and casual Friday or you
and
gotta
it's like,
work. My dad used to say, look, if somebody pays you $150,000 a year, you're going to work. Nobody's going to pay you $75,000 a year to do nothing and sit on your butt and eat bonbons. This was like 40 years ago. 50 years ago, he told me this.
so it's
And
even more than that. So
oh,
even
it's
so today, it's like, oh my goodness. Like
yeah. And so if I tell my daughter, listen, if you show up and work hard, you'll beat like 90% of the people out there because
yep,
most people
yep, yep,
don't even do that. Right.
yep.
And then you learn how to critically think and you learn how to solve problems and you learn how to, because entrepreneurs solve problems. So even if you have a job, you have to become an entrepreneurial thinker. You have to be a good steward of your resources. So I don't care if you work for somebody else. When the money hits your, what I call your personal economy, what business is it in? You are now an entrepreneur. You got to be a good steward of your money. And so it's all mindset. And I don't know where they learn that. You learn it from, that's why I told you have to work on your mindset, your skill set, and your network. So mindset, what you watch, who you hang around, what you listen to, what you read, right? The podcast you go to, what are the masterminds you go to, what are the books you're reading, what groups are you in? I always try to be, Steve, I try to be the dumbest, brokest person in whatever room I'm in, right? So I'm always trying to get in better rooms. And that's what you have to do. Most people they like to show off. They want to be the smartest
Right.
person in their group. And you have to stay uncomfortable. I don't know no other way to do it. So anyway,
Yep.
that's my
No.
2 cents.
Absolutely. No, that's your 2 cents is worth a million. And I agree with everything that you're saying there. I want to learn from people that are, even if they're just a couple of steps down the road from me, man, that's incredibly valuable. Like the further along you get in your career, like that's so valuable. Can you help me to avoid a potential pitfall
Yeah.
that you've gone through and hey, I'm not there yet, but it's right in front of me. Right. And you're helping them much earlier on in the process. And like you're saying, like the way that worked, the advice that your dad was giving you, yes, it's applicable today, but it's even more valuable today.
Oh,
And
yes.
and then even what you're telling your daughter, right? Like just the willingness to show up to work early, more than on, this is something we beat in our heads. We're more than on time, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
it's so easy to stand out. Like if you have a W-2, it's so easy to stand out now because gosh, if you show up with a willingness to, okay, what are we doing today? Right. How can I provide value today? Right. You're just honing in on providing value to the marketplace, right? Whether that be your W-2, whether that to be your clients, your customers, whoever that is, that should always be a focus, right? They're only going to come off of the money that they have if they perceive the value that you're bringing to the table, whether that be a service, advice, whatever is worth more to them than the cash that they have in their hand,
Right.
right?
Which is
There's an
called
exchange.
capitalism, right? That's
Yep,
it's an
exactly.
exchange. And so a lot of people don't understand that capitalism is according to F.A. Hayek, is an ever expanding system of cooperation
Mhm.
amongst strangers. And too much of other philosophy has creeped into our school
Yes.
system.
Yes.
And I'm not getting myself in trouble, but you know what I mean? Is I
We
gotta
talk.
I gotta my sister, when they first came over to school, I gotta kind of unwind them out of these Marxist college professors
Yeah.
to speak. And here don't half the politicians is like, how are you being voted for? That's how far we've gone, like off
Mhm.
of the country, off of what the country was built on.
Right.
Of freedom. There's no freedom. I'm not gonna get me in trouble, but you can't have equal outcome. I don't need an equal outcome. If I'm better than you, I want to be better. I'm better. I want to make more money.
Yeah.
I want to do whatever because I'm willing to bust my butt to work that hard. And so that's the way. It doesn't matter what color you are, none of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if you can do that, if you can learn that, now you couple that with, what's the word? Being able to critically think,
Mhm.
be able to be financially literate, right? So, because financial literacy is not investing. Financial literacy, this is what, see, Rich Dad Poor Dad has a book about accounting. Financial literacy is the ability to read numbers, the ability to
Mhm.
read a pro forma, really to understand profit and loss, understanding
Right.
things like our return on investment, cash on cash return, cap rate. That's financial literacy. So, understanding reading a profit and loss. You want to buy businesses. What are you looking for? What do you see? And that's the skill.
Yeah.
That's the skill. That's what you have to become. You have to become a real investor. You have to become, even if you're like, here's my 3 rules of investing that we kind of share with our clients. So we teach the 5 principles, which
Mhm.
are save what? 15% of your or more of your gross income, maximum protection. So good macroeconomic planning, which is what we do, starts with protection. You have to play defense. That's why you see in medieval, there's always a moat around the castle, because you got to protect yourself from predators and people trying to steal your gold and trying to sue you. The wills and trusts and entities and property insurance and life insurance and disability insurance, long-term care. That's defense, right? Then you want to have legacy for replacement of assets and deaths. You want your assets to transfer efficiently with as little tax as possible. Okay. A lot of that's the foundation of good planning is life insurance. If you don't get that, it's like, because life insurance is not
Mhm.
sexy, right? But that it only makes sure what you want to have happen will happen,
Right.
guaranteed, right? The liquidity is the fourth principle. Liquid 6 to 12 months, not $1,000, 2 months in the bank. Oh, I got 5,000 curves. Can I start investing? No, you can't. And then my fifth principle is velocity. Like you want to. So what I try to get people focused on is you want to become financially free, which is a capability. So you're not net worth is okay, but that's a lag indicator. Like how much you can't eat
Right.
equity, right? So it's how much are you, if you're bringing $7,000 a month, well, then you want your assets to bring you $7,000 a month. And now if you can get that to match, now the pressure is off of you working for money because you got assets going to work. And now you can really run up the score, right? And so those are the principles. And then that flows into my 3 rules of investing. Well, not my rules. I don't have any original thoughts, just so y'all know. So 3 rules: invest in which or invest in knowing, right? So in the syndication world, I was talking to a client about this. She was looking at something and said, well, she got her money back out of another deal and she wanted to know if she wanted to invest another, I think 25 or 50,000. I says, well, do you know the operators? You speak to, you really are investing in as a limited partner in the operators. They're know what happens if stuff goes wrong. And so that's, to me, investing in knowing how to learn how to do due diligence. Then my second rule is invest in what you can control. Now, you don't have much control, but it's in that space. But does it cash flow? When does it cash flow? Can you influence the outcome in any way? And our third rule is don't chase returns. Now, what most people do is they do what? They chase returns. I heard the water cooler talk, and they're chasing returns, and that's the problem. Because if you just chase returns, the market's up, investing for capital gains, that's really an illusion, because your stock is worth, or your mutual fund is worth, whatever the net asset value is at the close of the day of the market, right? So it could be up, it could go down, but it's not real until you sell it and go do something with it. So it's really kind of illusion might be a strong word, but it's not. You can't, unless you got like a brokerage account where you can collateralize it. It's really doesn't mean anything until you turn it into a thing. Whereas you can buy into a real thing that sends you a check every month.
It's
So
like the net worth. It's on paper. It's not. It's nothing that you're actually have out in the marketplace working for you, generating cash flow, et cetera. Yep. No, totally get it.
I'm
Ah,
a
that's
beach
great.
bum. I would like to go to the beach and stay at the beach. So I have money keep coming in, right?
It's
Well,
a
I have to
good.
worry about my
It's a
gardening.
great feeling.
I know. See, I'm jealous. I'm in Hawaii too, so every day is Saturday.
Not quite. You still got to work here too, right? Especially in a
Yeah. Well,
high
yeah.
cost of living environment. But
I know. Well, yes.
yeah, no, I
But
love
that's
it
the
though.
thing.
I mean,
You work hard. But
yeah,
because you got to be there, then just make money so you can afford to be there.
yeah. Oh, and
Everywhere
that's
is
it
nice if
too,
you can
right?
make money.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's the one thing too, right? Like how okay, look, if we understand like these principles, you understand the concepts. Yeah, I can't help but to see opportunity everywhere. So like one of the strategies that we put into play it's it's unrelated to finances, although related to finances, or it has direct impact on finances. Like I don't have a TV. I haven't had a TV for, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years.
Right.
And at this point, it's like one of those things where we'll share this all the time. I'm a man of faith, right? So my God's a creator. So he's made me to be a creator. And it's like, well, every time I'm looking at a TV, I see somebody else's vision that's already come to fruition. Right. And so it's like my focus is always there. And you spend hours of time staring at a screen, watching social media or watching a TV or movie or show or whatever. Like I'm seeing somebody else's vision play out on their screen. Somebody envisioned that. They brought it to reality. They brought it to life. And now it's on the screen in front of me. So if I'm spend all my time doing that, I don't ever have time to go paint and create my own vision on my own screen that lives out in my life. Right. And so that's usually one of the first things that I'll do. And that's kind of comes back to what you're talking about, like just putting your financial house in order, being a good steward, right, of the resources and what you've been entrusted with. Right. And that goes with your time too. Right. Go learn how to develop new skill sets. Right. Go pick up a book, go to a meetup, right.
We
Go to
just
some
distract
networking event. I
ourselves
mean,
with
oh, totally.
entertainment. And so even when you decide to do something, I think we have a similar mentor. Myron Gold says distraction follows intention immediately.
Mhm.
Right. And so I heard him say, and I said this, and my daughter's like, oh, that's harsh. I was like, if you're not making 100 grand, you don't need TV. You don't need cable. You need to read a book. Your kids need to read a book on success. And it is kind of harsh, but my daughter will always, or I shouldn't pick on her so much, but she'll ask me, would you see such and such? I will watch like Game of Thrones. And even then, that's like my 1 hour a week of TV or something like that. And because I still like my shows, but I'm working. I have stuff to do. I don't have time to be even watching. I'm from Philly, so the Eagles, right? It's like, all right, I can't like live or die on some sports team or some sports star has already been paid. I want to win my Super Bowl, my Super Bowl ring of income of winning. And so how can I take my family on vacation and do the right things? And you have to get up and you've got to be intentional about what you do on a day-to-day basis. And most people they're drifting.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think that's the one thing that I found whenever we start focusing on kind of our own financial house and getting your mindset, getting all that right. Honestly, it becomes a joy. Like you end up finding the things once you're unshackled, let's say from the W-2, right? Like the illusion of the W-2 and the security, right, that provides you. Let's say you have resources coming in now, you've got income coming in now that's not you going to the job, right? That honestly, that frees you up to go do the things that you enjoy doing. Right.
Right.
And that could be a totally another job. That could be something else that's work. Work is a good thing, right? I feel like we've demonized that. It's like, no, hey, like you were created to have skill set. You've got something that fills your tank. And once you put that into action, you put that into motion, gosh, like, hey, that actually feels really good. Like work is a good thing. Like, and we've demonized work. It's a great thing. It
Or
feels good.
having a job. It's not a bad thing. It's because it's a certain, you gotta like, and you can learn it though. You can go, what's it, Dan Sullivan say, listen, you've gotta is like the hours for dollars economy. We're trading hours for dollars, and there's a performance economy. So when you live in the performance economy, you have to make stuff happen. Like you have to learn. That's where the security comes from. Because what you've done is absolved everybody else. That's it. He calls it the two entrepreneurial decisions. I'm probably going to butcher this, but you absolve everybody else, government, and other people from taking care of your family. You have to take care of your own family. And then the second entrepreneurial decision is that you don't deserve any money unless you create value in the marketplace first, right? So those are the two entrepreneurial decisions. But if you can do that, now you got to get some skill, and you might have to work on yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you are comfortable working without a net, so to speak. And or you may love what you do. You may be a teacher, and so guess what? I need teachers. I need you a good teacher there, but I need you to have a side hustle so you're happy.
Yep.
Okay, you know, and you're doing what you want to do, so you don't need to teach because you want to, not because you have to.
Right. Yeah. No, and I've seen people monetize that, and you've got so many tools available. Okay. Hey, right now we're using a tool, right? With a teacher in a classroom. Hey, it's one to a few, right? Maybe it's one-on-one if you're a tutor or something like that. When we do a show like this, right? When you're online, you have the opportunity now, easier than ever, to do one to many, right? You could, as if you're a teacher and that's your gifting, and that you've got, man, you really have a skill set to do that, to deliver a message. Now you can do it to millions of people around the world. Like you
Yes.
really can. And so it's like, don't overlook that opportunity. There's opportunity out there for you, no matter what it is that you do. You just got to find a way to monetize it, leverage it, increase your skill set, increase your proficiency in whatever it is that you're working on, and deliver the message. Right. So yeah, no, I love it. So many great things here, Curtius. But this is the point of our show where we transition to what we call our fire round. Just a little bit more brief Q&A, a little bit more rapid fire fun. And we've kind of talked about some of this, I feel like, throughout the show, but is that something you're up for?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. Well, we've talked about a few different books kind of throughout our conversation here, but what is your favorite book recommendation other than Rich Dad, Poor Dad? For us real estate junkies, that's the Purple Bible. But man, like I said, I know you've mentioned a bunch of them. I love a bunch of the books that you've recommended also. But is there any like, hey, this is my go-to? And it doesn't have to be, it can be anything. It can be mindset, it can be finance, it can be whatever. Like any top,
So yeah, it's hard to do just one, but I would say since I'm
it can be
in
two.
the banking, like, and I just had a chance to meet him for the second or third time, Garrett Gunnison. So I like
Yeah.
What Would the Rockefellers Do,
Mhm.
Killing Sacred Cows, because that's the book that
Yeah.
helped. Like if Rich Dad opened the door, Killing Sacred Cows kind of gave me more detail of, okay, here are things that you can do that why I don't think typical planning works. And then I think of a mindset book. One of the things I'm using right now that's big is the 12-week year. Is kind of
Okay.
like my operating system of just kind of how to work. I'm turning back looking at my bookshelf.
I was gonna say you got a bunch of books back there. You mentioned Jim Rohn a few times, and there's so many great books. I mean,
Yeah, I like, for example, so one of the newer ones I like is the 3 books by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. So 10X,
yep,
2X, Who Not How, and what's the other one? The Gap in the
incredible books.
Yeah, the gap in
Yeah.
the gain is huge because Most people, if you're hard chargers, we live in the gap, right? Because the gap meaning we're always, I set this goal to do blah, blah, blah. I want $10,000 a month of passive income by the end of the year. And then what'll happen is you might have only made 4, but you start at 0. So you have to measure backwards, right? That's amazing. But
Yeah.
we beat ourselves up because we're always chasing a horizon. And I realized,
Mm.
oh, I'm just like that because was always frustrated because I did amazing. So it drove you. So I was at the top of leaderboards or whatever, but I was never happy. And
Mm.
that really gave me a little bit more peace. That was huge. Gap in the gang was a big because people live in the gap. And then you be getting the gap with your kids. Well, all right, you had a good game, but you missed that goal right there or whatever. You could have had a goal or you got did you get the extra credit? I knew you got 100, but there was 4 extra credit points. Did you get those? That's in the gap. So you make people feel bad because as like I used to coach youth soccer, right? Travel soccer.
Mm.
And so the kids quit because the parents are maniacs, right? They're on them and they're in the car, "Da, da, 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 you did it," and yelling on the sideline. And so you just have to encourage them where they are, like, and be thankful for the progress. So the message I got from that I think is helpful is to measure backwards. When you look at your goals, when we're working people from a planning standpoint, we're measuring backwards and not to see the progress that you made. And I think that if you do that mentally, you'll be in a much better place.
Oh, that's great. That is great. And yeah, too often we overlook that. And again, kind of talking about some of the parents, it's like, well, they're only going to teach what they were taught, right? Or what they experience. And so that's
Right.
hard for us, right? You have to kind of step outside of that, learn, okay, no, we can do something better. And I can teach my kids something better so this doesn't continue to happen. All right, next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
My superpower is that I'm really good at assimilating information really fast,
Mhm.
and I can draw it to you on a napkin. So I've built my business around curation, being a financial educator that implements, but I can absorb a lot of information and then I can think about it. And then my superpower is I can criticize it. I can take your thing and make it my thing, but keep the integrity of your thing,
Right.
but I can make it come out so that I can get people to understand what they think that, like, people tell me that I was just on the phone with a client. She says, "I didn't understand this financial stuff, but when I heard you talk last week and it was like I had clarity of whatever you're saying. It made sense for the first time in my life." So, okay, I guess that's my superpower.
That's an awesome superpower. And a lot of times it's that, right? They didn't read that book, but you did. And so now you need to repackage that in a way that they can receive it.
Right.
Right. Yes. And so that's an incredible power.
And they're not going to read the book. So I realized that's my superpower. It's enough for me. If I'm really on a knowledge binge, I can read a book a week.
Yeah. I think most people too, if they set aside like, hey, if you got an hour commute or a 30-minute commute to your job every day, man, Audible, YouTube,
You
something
have a
on
freaking
the car.
MBA in business or wherever it is that you're trying to learn just in commute or just while you're working out, just by
Yeah.
going for a walk and listening to podcasts, listening to Audible. Because how do you know? People say, well, how much this stuff? Because if I'm at the gym, if I walk like 3 miles a day with my little weighted vest on. And if I'm sitting, I'm reading something. I don't just waste time. I'm not sitting
Yep.
on all my kids for like sitting there watching TikTok. And I send you a video to watch and you haven't watched it, but I know you're constantly on TikTok. Now I'm upset.
Mm. Mhm.
You're
One of the
wasting
things that
time.
I teach my girl, that's something we teach our kids all the time. The phrase killing time. Oh, it's brutal. You don't realize how precious time is. And the last thing you want to do is kill it or
Mhm.
waste it. I was like, you do not waste time.
Right.
All right, next question. What would you say the biggest lesson that you've learned over your career thus far?
To stay with stuff and give your efforts time to compound.
Mm.
A lot of people stop too soon, and like I go into business and they're not whatever superstar in 6 months. They're ready to quit and move on to something else. And my dad told me, I think I heard this when I heard her from the time I was like 8 or 10. It takes 2 to 5 years to build a business. So when I got started in what I'm doing, I was not good, right? But it takes 2 to 5 years to build a business. Only in my mind, I didn't put up hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I had to put the hours in. So I just you kind of stay with it. And if it's working for somebody else, then you can do it. You just are not good at it yet. Now, in my mind was, if this knucklehead can do it, then it can be done. And I can do it. So I'm like a bulldog with a dirty sock. I just don't let go.
Well, and that tenacity, right? That's a huge deal. Well, I'm
And
in my
unless somebody
last,
told me I can't do it, then it's
yeah.
on. Now, even when I want to quit, I'm not gonna quit.
All right. Yeah. Last question, most important. How can our audience reach out and connect with you? If they want to they want to get your input. They want to learn more about you, your services. They want to sit down and have a conversation with Curtis. How can they do that?
Yeah, so you can find me on the YouTubes, as they say, and to search for the Practical Wealth Show or at Curtis May, and you can find out more of what I call the madness that is Curtis. And then on each of the show notes, you can click to schedule a complimentary consultation if you'd like to talk about cash flow control or whatever's on your mind. You got 30 minutes, time is yours. And you can also, I'm big on liquidity, Steve. So if you will text, I'll give it a gift to you guys. There's a report I have called The Value of Liquidity.
Mm.
And so if you will text Be the Bank, so all one word, all caps, BTHEBANK, Be the Bank to 55444. Okay. So the short code is 55444 and text Be the Bank. We'll send you our report. You'll be on our email lists, and we do lunch and learns and webinars a couple times a month. And you just kind of jump in and kind of see what we're up to, subscribe to the show. And our website is practicalwealth.net, practicalwealthsolutions.net, or just go to Curtis May, I think it's .com. And all of them take you to the same place.
Awesome. Yeah. We didn't even talk about infinite banking, or we just kind of, mention it in passing. All right. Maybe I'll have you back on it. We can just
We talk
dive
about
in
infinite
that.
banking. Yeah. But you got to do the first part to get to that.
First
Like
thing
you got to
first.
control the cash flow, because the principle of saving. So the strategy is where you put the savings, and then the tactic is the insurance. But people think infinite bank's about insurance. It's not. So that's a whole separate talk.
Yeah. 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 It's another tool, but you have to have the mechanics to even be able to get
Yeah.
to there. You got a super
All
fund
it is
policy.
is
I mean, you
tool.
got to have a lot of cash in order to be able to get it going up and running. But again, it's just a tool in the tool belt. Very powerful, can be,
Right.
but you got to get there.
You don't
Right?
need a
So,
lot of cash, but you just need to, like, so I took a look. Can you save? I was just talking to this young lady today. You making 50 grand, so that's $4,000 a month. Can you save $400? So I don't care what you start with, because I just got to get you in the game, right?
right.
And
Yep.
then I'm expecting that your future is bigger than your past, so your personal economy is going to grow. But I need you to start where you are. So you don't need 30 grand or 50 grand. Nelson started with, if you look in the book, he starts with a 28-year-old guy making, what was he making? Like 28 grand a year or something like that. And so, which is like today's dollars, I did the math, like 48,000. So you don't have to be rich to do it.
Yep. Yep. So those of you that might not be
I like rich
keyed in
people.
on what we're
Feel free
talking
to call
about.
me. But yeah, I want to get you started, and start, like, one of the big things, like with young people, I just, like, my kids' age people, all your new graduate friends, let me get them on this cash flow control system, right? And then I'll grow them into, the good stewards of their resources, and then Curtis will be there when they're ready. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, those of you guys that want to learn more about that, you can go hit up Curtis, or you can go check out his show, Practical Wealth Show podcast, or the Practical Wealth Advisor. So make sure that you give him a buzz. Tell him Steve sent you, and well, he'll take good care of you no matter what.
I'll
But,
take it.
uh,
It's better
now,
if you
Curtis.
mention your name.
Hey, Curtis, I appreciate you hopping on with me today with our listeners. I enjoyed our conversation, and I know we brought a ton of value to the listeners. So thank you so much. Go out and have an amazing day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye, everybody.
Aloha. All right. Awesome episode with Curtis May with Practical Wealth Show, Practical Wealth Advisors. Awesome. Curtis is a financial advisor. And so he works with a lot of different people. And sometimes it's really just as simple as going back to basics. In fact, for most of us, we need help there, especially now more than ever. Just those foundational kind of practices, very simple. It's nothing complicated. It's nothing sexy. It's not going to turn you into a billionaire kind of overnight. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of our culture kind of glamorizes and whatnot. But you want to achieve success, you got to start with the basics. And even when you achieve success, revisit the basics and then level up. All right. So tons of great advice that he had. And so excellent to have him on the show. Guys, if you found value in the show, make sure that you're hitting the like button, that you're hitting the subscribe button if you're wherever you're watching. or hitting the subscribe button. We'd love a 5-star review too. So if you guys are enjoying the show, you're finding value, leave us a review. We'd love to know how we can improve, how we can better, how we can do things better, get bigger and better guests on the show, continue to bring you guys value. And then also make sure that you're sharing the episodes if you're finding value. If you want to connect with us here locally and you're on island or you're visiting, make sure that you check us out on meetup.com, Bigger Pockets. We've got a group that meets every month. We've been doing that for 5+ years with Honolulu Multifamily and more. So we'd love to meet you in person, shake your hand, put a face to the name, and see where we can go. Guys, that's going to be it for today. We'll see you on the next episode. Go out, take some action, and have a great one. Aloha.